Porom c90, Stupidproofed, but Underjuiced. I felt that title would be the appropriate level of inflammatory but accurate. Hey folks, Drusain here, and I'm just doing this video and presentation because in the global side of things we are expecting Porom c90 to appear soon, and since I've covered her EX Plus kit and her LD kit, I felt like keeping this train going. So this video shouldn't take too long because her C90 changes are not extensive, but I do want to rate the changes based on what I believe are the best to the worst. I will also shortly discuss Porom's viability in the future, including the Shinryu difficulty, to the best accurate take as I can manage as a GL player. So let's go straight to the title of the Porom c90 in a nutshell. Stupidproofed but Underjuiced. The stupid proofing explanation goes directly into the changes I categorize on this slide as Friggin Wonderful. Brave and HP attacks now count as skills toward the EX charge. Most of the time Porom uses an action, the best choice has always been to use an HP attack. But since the HP attack slowed down progress toward recharging her EX, which is the best skill that she has, you had to make a lot of judgment calls and practice in optimizing her turns. You know, back in the Chaos era, if you ever go back and look at my old videos, you'll see that I have to spend a lot of time mentally estimating Porom's EX gauge, like on the fly, for multiple turns ahead, because I'm using the HP attack, which means I need to think about, okay, how many turns is left until the goddamn EX is going to happen. But that's gone. That's all gone. That's all gone because the HP attack charges the EX. That is great. It's now pretty much impossible for someone to play Porom stupidly. Hence, she is stupid-proof. Next, and this is also friggin' wonderful, the EX recharges faster. So you should be getting the EX back after 2 skills. This means, assuming that there's no turn hoggers in the party, the HP absorption buff should be naturally coming up 66% of the time. So if it's not hitting your recast in 2 turns, then it is possible that you might have some passives that are bad for Porom. If Cry Light is on, turn that garbage off. Dropping a debuff at the risk of not getting your recharge is terrible. Cry Light is the worst passive in her kit. Get that shit off. Otherwise, Mysidian Brilliance Light and Busy Little Girl aren't terrible, but if they are screwing up with your recharge, turn those off too. Alright then, next in the Great category, Porom's LD follow-up will drop enemy Brave from all party members' HP totals, instead of just her own. So in most stages, this should absolutely drop any enemy's Brave to 0. So keep your HP artifacts, but stick with equipping the M-Brave ones. And then in the Cool category, we just have a couple common C90 updates. These are updates that most C90 characters are getting. So LD follow-up does 3 hits now. EX does 4 hits now. That's pretty good, because if you do the EX, that's actually 7 hits. That's going to carry you to the rest of Lufenia Plus. And also you get the LD buff from the start. Now, note that you don't start with the HP overflow. You still do need to activate the EX button or the LD button to get your overflow. Alright then, in the Sure Whatever category is a boost to the EX's HP group heal. It is now a 100% group heal. So as long as you are not in red health, you will recover to your max HP overflow. So that's nice. Now the next category is the Meh category. So now she's going to get a 20% HP damage party boost, but this is common for supports, so it's barely worth mentioning. Her AA changes, but it's barely worth mentioning, so I'm not going to go over it. The best use is still for activating emergency heals or an emergency follow-up. It's still the best use of it. And then finally, we have the Yuck category. And unfortunately, the Yuck category is why I write at the top that she is underjuiced. Her base skills have not been touched since her debut in 3 years. And while that's a great testament on how good those skills were from her debut, her skills don't really follow the needs of what her C90 party members need anytime soon. The reason is because, as I've always said, Porom's strength relies not just on her defensive capabilities, but also her offensive power when she's providing the party with strong defense dropping capability. That made her very valuable in Chaos difficulty, that made her very valuable in Lufenia difficulty. But now, because, and I don't know if everyone knows this, but now, because of everyone's massive C85 bonuses, characters can cap their damage pretty easily, as you've seen if you're keeping up with the global side of things. Porom's value can change in the future, but right now in the C90 era, you don't need her defense debuff, which means that her value is a lot less in a good position. Her S2 ability is even worse. Even now, I've done multiple Luf Plus stages without ever touching the S2 button because I did not need the HP absorption. And now that EX recharges faster, which is great, there's very few situations where a Porom party is going to need the emergency HP absorption from the S2, because you're already getting that so often from the EX attack. So very rarely will this button ever matter. So that's unfortunate. But let's go over to the slides where I'm going to talk a little bit about looking at her future. So in general, I'm going to be vague here. I do not play the JP side of the game. So while I have a pretty good understanding of where she is in the future, I will briefly discuss her value in Shinryu difficulty, despite me never having touched the difficulty myself. 1. Porom will have no trouble remaining great for the rest of Luf Plus. Her damage output is really solid, and she's gonna do great until then. But in Shinryu, it's gonna be very, very difficult to keep her competitive. The only stage where I'd say she's likely to be decent is Camelot's 6-man event, just to drop in and out to do some party support when needed. Number 2, she is a decent choice for Transcendence Tier 9 Reckoning if you haven't already put her on an earlier tier already. This tier requires a White Crystal character already, and the Reckoning stage enemies are tanky and can easily kill off a party member in some circumstances. Number 3. This is probably going to be a common talking point later, but when Shinryu difficulty drops, characters like Porom who specialize in protection but don't have counters or traps or other general off-turn damage are going to be less preferable than characters who do. Number 4. Porom in Shinryu would likely need to be heavily supported by another character's FR condition in order to make her a reasonable choice. Porom can increase Charlotta's gauge by using her HP attack, so Porom could be a reasonable choice with Charlotta. And I'm sure there's other characters with FRs that would fit well with Porom, but I don't know that much. I don't really know a lot of the FR conditions, unfortunately. And number 5, just making a general note, Porom does not receive Force Boards until Sid Reigns BT, which will be in about 6 months. Alright, so in closing, that's about it. I'm really happy with the changes that Porom received to her EX, her LD, and her HP attack. Unfortunately, her skills don't really benefit the C90 era much at all. But if there is a change to her base skills in the future, I think she'll have a good chance to get back into a good place. It's just unfortunately, it doesn't seem that that's going to be anytime soon. So, to close, special thanks for Black Nero and Sinewave in reviewing my notes on Porom's future viability. Thank you very much. And to everyone, I hope you're still enjoying the game and having fun. So, until then, goodbye.